We are fortunate to have Deidra Schubert here with us once again. She has generously volunteered her time with us a few times before. Deidra is the Education and Outreach Director at Merritt Island Medical Research. She's a board-certified behavioral analyst and a certified Alzheimer's and dementia care trainer. She has almost 10 years of clinical experience with a master's in applied behavioral analysis and organizational behavior management from Florida Tech. Deidra also has a bachelor's degree in psychology. Her background focuses on challenging behaviors present in dementia care and caregiver staff training. She's the past director of education and outreach for the Brevard Alz Foundation. She continues to keep a hand in overseeing their music and memory program at Joe's Club that we helped to initiate. She is a certified dementia practitioner and a Montessori Dementia Care Professional. Deidra is proud to be born and raised as a Brevardian and believes in serving her community by participating in many projects, including Dementia Live Experience, Brevard Parkinson's Alliance advisory member, and many volunteer roles that have to do with the Alzheimer's Association, including dementia advocate, community representative, and Walk to End Alzheimer's event experience chairperson. So with all of that said, let's listen in and find some useful tools to help ourselves with our loved ones living with dementia as the holiday season approaches. Deidra, the meeting's yours.
All right. Thank you, Sherry and the Roundtable Dementia Support Group team for having me once again. It's always great to speak to this group, and it's incredible how much it's grown, in the couple of years that the group has been going on. So kudos to all of you for showing up. All right, so I'm going to talk to you all about holiday hints for our loved ones with dementia. Obviously, we have a holiday coming up tomorrow, and then December is full of holidays as well. We know that holidays are often filled with opportunities for being together, for having laughter, for sharing memories, but they can also bring stress, disappointment, and even some sadness. A person living with dementia or a person living with Alzheimer's or another dementia may feel a special sense of loss during the holidays because of the changes they themselves have experienced. And at the same time, caregivers can feel overwhelmed maintaining those traditions while also providing care for their loved ones. We know that in the early stages, a person living with Alzheimer's may experience minor changes, right? So in the mild, earliest stages, some may withdraw and be a little bit less comfortable with socializing, while others may love being around family member and friends as they've always been. So really, we're going to talk about how communication and options is really going to be the key to success. In the earliest stages, you can ask your loved one, how are you doing? Just how are you doing with the holidays coming up? And having that open communication with them. By planning the holidays together, focusing on things that bring happiness, and then trying to let go of overwhelming or more stressful activities. I believe that maybe some of the group members here have loved ones that are more in the middle or late stages, and so we're really going to highlight techniques for kind of the more middle to late stages of Alzheimer's disease or related dementia. And it really goes back to holiday planning, making a plan and seeing if it's still a good fit. Everybody on their dementia journey is unique, and so sometimes finding a plan can be very much trial and error. So we're going to kind of figure it out as we go, and some things may work, some things may not, but we just keep trying, right? So we're going to start with adjusting our expectations and trying to be flexible. This is probably the best place to start. We want to set realistic expectations and give yourself permission to do only what you can really reasonably and safely manage. Okay, so maybe a much smaller or a more casual gathering, if a gathering at all. No one should expect you as a caregiver to maintain every holiday tradition or event unless you want to. As somebody that is a 24/7 caregiver or whatever your case may be, you shouldn't be expected to have the full gamut of everything you've done for the past years, okay? And you need to be open and honest with yourself as to what you can and cannot do still. So maybe we celebrate over lunch or brunch rather than an evening dinner, especially if your loved one has sundowning or that evening confusion. Sometimes it's better to celebrate in the morning time or while the sun is still out to kind of avoid any of those sundowning behaviors that we may see. Maybe we have a more simplified holiday all around. For example, maybe a smaller dinner with a few close family members rather than cooking out this whole spread for 25 people. Maybe instead of very elaborate decorations, we just do a few select items that your loved one really connects with. Maybe you've had the same wreath for 40 years, and so you kind of focus on maybe a few items. So simplifying your holidays. Um, we should consider serving non-alcoholic drinks and trying to keep the room bright and very uplifting. And then as a caregiver, you should prepare for the post-holiday letdown. So, after everything is said and done and everybody leaves and the house is just disheveled and there's maybe dishes everywhere and you're just exhausted, maybe look at arranging some kind of in-home care that so you can get that rest. Or maybe enjoying just a movie, putting everything to the side and let's just relax and enjoy a movie, to kind of reduce that post-holiday stress and fatigue. So really, we just want to try to be flexible all around. So we can also look at trying to prepare our guests. Okay, this is something that should be done before the holiday comes up. Um, Sometimes, our family members don't see our loved ones as much as we do. They see them maybe twice a year. So, really giving them this kind of heads up of, this is where mom is at right now, or dad, or grandpa, or whoever, just kind of giving them a heads up of what to expect. So I found this letter here. It can be like a phone script or it can be an email script. And it's really just kind of laying out how to prepare your guests that are coming. And so you can say something, I'm calling to let you know how things are going on at home. While we're looking forward to the holidays, we just thought it'd be helpful for you to understand the current situation. So just kind of a heads up, right? You may notice that fill in the blank, dad has changed since you last saw him. Among the changes you may notice are, and then you fill in the blanks. Maybe dad is less talkative. Maybe dad has lost a lot of weight. Maybe dad is very confused. And you can say, because blank or dad sometimes has problems remembering and thinking clearly, his behavior may be a little unpredictable. So again, you're giving them that heads up that, we may plan for something and something else may happen, but you're setting that expectation. Please understand that dad or blank may not remember who you are or may confuse you with someone else. Please don't feel offended by this. He appreciates your time with us, and so do we. Please treat dad, fill in the blank, as you would any other person. A warm smile is appreciated more than you know. So again, you're kind of setting them up with that expectation that, their loved one may not remember them because they see them once a year, and now that grandchild has grown up so much in a year, or they just may not recognize them. And so you're just giving them that heads up, like, look, they may not recognize you, don't get offended. It's the disease that's occurring, it's not intentional. Um, and sometimes if our family members just don't know how to respond, then just sitting there and smiling is as welcoming than getting upset, leaving the room, or hitting, grandma, grandpa, mom, and dad with a bunch of questions. So sometimes it's okay to just be present and be in the moment with a nice smile. And then I like this last line that says, "We would ask that you call when you're ready so we can prepare for your arrival." So just giving you a heads up. Um, Surprises can be very confusing for somebody living with dementia, but then also as a caregiver, if you're not really sure when somebody's coming in, a surprise can cause extra stress because now you're like, well, I didn't prepare for them to be here already and all these things. So just giving them a heads up, just let us know when you're almost here. With your help and support, we can create a holiday memory that we'll all treasure. And I can send this to Sherry, and she can share it with the group. And just kind of, if you need a script to follow, it's perfect. But again, it's so important to prepare your guest because, again, a lot of times they haven't seen the progression of the dementia. They haven't seen their loved one maybe in 6 months to a year, and a lot may have happened since then. So again, going more tips and tricks for preparing our guests. In the earliest stages, our loved ones or our guests may not even notice any changes. Um, Maybe they're just our loved one is repeating things or having a hard time following the conversation. And so maybe our guest will pick up on that. But in the middle or late stages, our loved ones are really, or our guests are really going to kind of pick up on those cognitive changes. And like I said before, it can be very shocking and hard to accept. I just saw mom last year and she has changed so much, and it can just really be hard for our guests or our family members. So making sure, this is the most important thing, reminding guests that the changes in behavior and memory are caused by the disease and not the person. Our loved one is still there. It's the disease that's causing the memory and behavior. Okay. And so just reminding them that it can kind of help with adjusting their expectations as well. People can help with communication by introducing themselves when they arrive. Hi, Papa, it's Deidra, right? And whenever they walk into a room with their loved one that has dementia, just introducing themselves. Oftentimes I'll see family members kind of expect that, grandma's going to recognize them, and that's not the case. And so just as soon as everybody walks in, hey, grandma, it's me, Sally, right? Just introducing yourself. Being patient, not interrupting or correcting them as they're speaking, and then giving them time to finish what they're trying to say instead of interjecting and throwing words in there. That can be very frustrating when somebody is trying to get out what they're trying to say and you're throwing all these words at them. So just reminding our guests, be patient, let them try to speak. And if the person cannot fully communicate clearly, maybe they have aphasia, then we want to respond to their tone, preparing our guests that, hey, mom has severe aphasia, so she may talk to you. And if she looks happy, match her tone, nod your head and smile with her. If she looks sad, you match her tone again, and you kind of try to comfort her. So a lot of our guests may not have ever seen what aphasia looks like, the word jumbling. And so they may not know how to react to it, and they may be like, what? I don't understand you. And that can be very frustrating because somebody that has aphasia, oftentimes they think that they're speaking clearly, but it's not coming out clearly. So they don't actually hear what's coming out. And that's just the way the brain is affected. So just preparing our guest, really setting the tone, setting the expectations, and just telling everybody we got to be flexible, right? That's the best advice we can walk away with today. So now, what about the person living with dementia? We'd rather be inclusive and still involve them versus being exclusive and just, oh, well, they have dementia. We're just gonna leave them alone and they don't know what the holiday is anyways. That's really sad. Um, we don't know what they're experiencing or what they're not experiencing. And so we should still try to include them. With my grandma, I didn't see her the last 3 years of her dementia journey. I was 12, so I really didn't know what was going on. And those are 3 years that I'll never get back with her, right? We didn't do any holidays with her. She was in a nursing home. There was nothing. And so those are things that you have to live with, we don't get that time back. So we want to involve our loved ones as much as we can. We want to look for safe, manageable holiday preparation activities that they enjoy. If you know that mom used to always love to set the table, well, let her try to set the table or let her watch you do it. Same thing with preparing food. Maybe dad can't help prepare food anymore, but he can surely sit next to you and watch you do it, right? Or wrapping gifts. Maybe they can wrap gifts, maybe they can watch you wrap gifts, but they're still involved, right? They're still in the room with you, you're still communicating with them, um, just still very making them feel included. They may not be able to do what they used to be able to, but you're still being mindful that maybe they wanna be involved, they're just not physically able or cognitively able to do what they used to be able to do. So food prep, wrapping gifts, decorating, putting up any kind of holiday decorations, even if it's some of the ornaments or some of placemats or something like that. Just give them something meaningful to try to do. And if they can't, again, they can watch you do it. Um, there is a disclaimer here. Avoid candies, artificial fruits, and vegetables for decorations because they might look like real food, and our loved ones with dementia may try to eat them. Also, blinking lights. Some of those fabulous blinking Christmas lights, they can be very confusing with the way that our loved ones' perception has changed due to the dementia. Um, Another tip, maintaining their normal routine as much as possible, is a great tip, so that holiday preparations don't become too disruptive or confusing. Um, Obviously, taking on too many tasks can wear everybody out, right? So just try to keep their routine as normal as possible, and maybe you write out their routine, um, on a whiteboard here, for example. 8 a.m., we're going to have breakfast. At 12 p.m., you're going to have lunch with Julie, your daughter. At 3 o'clock, we're having family time. So it's just very simple, but it's kind of letting them know what to expect for the day. If they're in a assisted living or memory care, you can do this as well. I know some of the facilities already do that. But looking at, especially if they're in a facility, what is their normal routine and working with the staff of, okay, well, how is this day going to look? And then setting our loved ones up for success by just kind of putting it on a little whiteboard right next to, where they're sitting at. Um, you can build on traditions and memories. If your loved one finds comfort in going caroling or caroling around their facility, um, you can try to do that. But if they're not up for it, well, then maybe you just watch a seasonal movie instead, or a movie with caroling. Or I love YouTube because you can pretty much find anything on YouTube. So if you know they love caroling, but they can't physically go out and do it, put on caroling on YouTube and then you can carol in the living room, right? So you kind of modify what traditions you used to do, and you get a little bit creative. If something is very overstimulating or overwhelming, well, maybe we skip that, or we bring it down to a more simplified level. We need to adapt our gift giving. So we can give people suggestions for useful and enjoyable gifts. So maybe an identification bracelet, maybe some comfy or easy to remove clothing, again, letting our family members know ahead of time, like, Papa can't really wear those Levi jeans anymore with the button and the zipper. So can you, if you want to buy him clothes, can you please get him something without buttons? Or if you get him new shoes, can you get him something that has Velcro and not laces? So just kind of adjusting and letting family members know what may be a better fit. Um, Favorite music, you can let them know, hey, dad really loves this. Photo albums, or even favorite snacks or treats. We do want to advise against dangerous, I guess you could call them gifts, like uh, Papa probably doesn't need a new drill. He's not doing any drilling anymore, right? Or any kind of power tools or instruments, utensils. We should avoid complicated or challenging things like board games or thousand-piece puzzles or complicated electronics or pets. Please don't. I would hope somebody wouldn't bring a brand new puppy over because they figured grandma was lonely and now the caregiver is taking care of this new puppy, right? Which could be great if it is welcomed. So we need to have this open discussion with our guests to prepare them again for what to expect, but then also set those kind of boundaries on, hey, these are great gift ideas. We should try to avoid noise. A lot of loud conversation can be very overwhelming for somebody on a dementia journey, even lighting or loud music. And then sometimes having too much delicious food or too much alcohol can be a recipe for disaster. So we just need to be mindful of our surroundings. Here we can do some modified activities together. So reminiscing with photos is fabulous. This is an example here of my grandpa and I. It's labeled. So it says, Deidra, I'm his granddaughter, and Paul, that was my grandpa, in Alaska in 2017. So it's like a modified photo album so that anybody can sit next to your loved one and all the photos are labeled and you can read them and you can point it out instead of being like, hey, grandpa, do you remember this? Grandpa, where was this? Grandpa, when was this? Right? Because he doesn't remember sometimes. And that can be frustrating. So if you label all the photos, that's perfect because then you're kind of prompting his memory of, oh, yeah, this was in Alaska. It looked really chilly there. And then you can carry on the conversation. This group knows better than anybody about music from early eras, right? You can have some of their favorite music playing and sitting around the living room, just enjoying some music, maybe doing some dancing or singing. Perfect activity that you can do to bond with somebody. Classic holiday movies. If grandpa always watched some movies growing up, we'll watch them. We watched a lot of A Christmas Story growing up, so that's what we would watch with my grandpa. Maybe even doing something active. If you're in Florida, around the holidays, it's probably going to be beautiful weather in the 70s and sunny. So go outside, take a walk. If you're not up for walking, maybe just sitting outside is perfectly fine too, right? So there's things that we can do with our loved ones, even with dementia, to still connect with them. And so letting our guests know that, and then also us as caregivers, these are ways we can still connect. It's a little bit different than before, but we're still doing it. I know a lot of families watch football, and that's kind of a holiday tradition. And so maybe doing that, but maybe not doing the whole 4-hour football game, maybe breaking it down. So simplifying it. Um, I think I skipped one of my slides, but it really comes down to, instead of having this big get together of 25 people, maybe you just do 3 to 5 at a time, especially if somebody is in a facility or a community rather. It's very overwhelming to have 10 people that you haven't seen in a long time coming and saying hello to you. Maybe you just do short visits with a couple family members at a time. um, who's got breakfast, who's got lunch, who's got dinner, as to not overwhelm our loved ones and let them get rest in between. Same thing with if they're at home. Um, Let them, if they're feeling overwhelmed, let them go take a nap, and if they're starting to kind of look frazzled or kind of reclusing back, maybe they need a break and need to just go to another room. Um, I love kids. I've got a 2 and a 5-year-old, but they can be very loud and can be very overwhelming sometimes, especially if a baby's crying. And so sometimes we just, need a break. That's okay. So this is for caregivers, right? You need to take care of yourself. Um, so we need to figure out how we can balance our responsibilities with our own needs and desires. So we're going to plan ahead, right? We're going to create a schedule that includes all of the tasks that we need to do, and then prioritize our own well-being and self-care. The first thing I said is that we need to be realistic with our expectations and our what we can safely manage. It's okay to ask one of your guests, "Hey, I know you always make the pie, the turkey, and everything else, but do you think maybe you could make the pie this year?" That's okay. So that's asking for help. Taking breaks. It's important to take breaks and rest when you can. Maybe it's just to, go read a little bit for 30 minutes away. You have family in town, just go take a break, whatever it is, it's important to do so. It's important to connect with other caregivers. Obviously, you all are in a support group right now, which is great, right before Thanksgiving. And I'm sure you'll have more meetings in December. And so connecting with other caregivers. You're not alone. And then always we try to celebrate those small victories. Caregiving is extremely challenging. So sometimes we need to just try to find those small victories and moments of joy. Uh, Papa made it through lunch with 5 family members. It was fabulous. Everybody left smiling. That's a victory. Or Papa got up on time and was able to make it to breakfast. That is a victory. So just a reminder, take care of yourself. Taking care of yourself is as important as taking care of your loved one. We have to practice self-care.